Welcome to St. Louis Presents.
Hi, Debbie. Hi, everyone.
Steve has some breaking news for us.
I don't know if it's breaking.
Sure it is. Steve has a new show you should check out.
Oh, I'm going to do it. It hasn't quite started yet. It's going to launch the first Friday in May. That's the 4th to the 5th, I think. And it's going to be called The Steve Potter Show.
How about that? That's really creative.
We worked really hard on that name. But there's station WBGZ, which is a news talk station in Alton, Illinois, and I used to host the morning show there in the 80s and 90s.
And you're back.
So I'll be back beginning very shortly with an hour show on Fridays, kind of looking ahead at things coming up. It'll be a regional show. For just an example, it might be a famous person that's on stage at the Fox, and maybe a festival in Belleville, and then something quirky down the road. I'm going to have Potter reporters to cover certain beats.
Potter reporters.
Uh-huh.
All right,
I made that up.
We'll have to tune in.
You've still got a radio show,
Yeah,
don't
I'm
you?
still doing my same old radio show at
Okay.
KMOX, so you can tune in the mornings for that. But we have a lot of great stuff coming up on this edition of St. Louis Presents, including, the vast majority of people in prison right now will get out of prison. What happens to them after that? Well, there is an organization that is really on top of that, and we'll get more information from the Criminal Justice Ministry.
Also, Operation Food Search is doing a Shop Out Hunger, not Stomp Out, Shop Out Hunger, which is going to involve something like 140 different grocery stores across the region, and that's coming up.
Right, making it super, super easy for you. Also, the St. Louis Area Agency on Aging is here, and May is a celebration of older people, and there's tons of stuff going on in
Why
the
did you
community.
look at me when you said that?
Did I?
Yes.
I didn't mean to, honestly. We have all that and more coming up next on St. Louis Presents. Well, our first guest is the Executive Director of the Criminal Justice Ministry, and it's a really important mission, Steve.
Well, the ministry offers a variety of services for individuals and families who are impacted by the criminal justice system.
Well, here to tell us more about that mission to create a positive change is Dr. Anthony D'Agostino. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, I think this is really something that a lot of people probably don't think about, but most people in prison, as I said at the open of the show, will get out of prison at some point. And I think it kind of behooves all of us that they are successful once they get out.
Yes, it does. As you said, so over 95% of people who currently are in Missouri prisons will eventually get out, and most of those within the next 5 or so years. And what we're trying to do is help give people that support system so they can be successful. Unfortunately, right now, we currently have a system that's really based on retribution and not rehabilitation. And we want to rehabilitate. We want people to be successful, tax-paying members of society.
And I guess everybody's story is different, but paint a picture like what it's like for someone that's been incarcerated. Maybe they didn't have a great career job to begin with, so then they're incarcerated for whatever reason, and they spend that time there. Then they come out, they got a criminal record, and I imagine some people look down on them. It's got to be very challenging.
Well, I'll give you a typical example. We actually work with a lot of homeless veterans. As you can probably imagine, people who are veterans are going through a lot of emotional issues, sometimes mental health issues, substance abuse sometimes sneaks in there for many of our veterans, and they end up homeless. A typical client we have might be coming to us. They have spent maybe 10, 15 years inside, and when they come to us, they're looking for everything. Sometimes they don't have a family to go back to or friends to work with. So they need employment, they need housing, they need really everything, treatment, and we try to provide that and be that support system for people without one.
Debbie, why doesn't the system provide that?
It's a good question. I think I'm sure Dr.
Oh, I should have
D'Agostino
asked you.
has more answers on that. But We hear a lot, when people are applying for jobs, there's always
Sure.
that question on the application, have you ever been convicted of a felony? Have you ever done this? Does that mean that they can't get hired? Is it really difficult for people getting out of prison to find someone who will take a chance on them?
Yeah, when we have set up a system that makes it very difficult for people to successfully transition back, and that's the problem. I mean, we have laws, we have hundreds of regulations and guidelines that make it difficult for someone who has a felony to get good employment, to start making enough money to pay their bills, to have affordable housing and where they go. So that's difficult. And like you said, if you have a felony record and you have to click that box, that doesn't necessarily mean that an employer won't hire you, but most employers won't take a chance on someone, and we're trying to find more that will.
I think it's impressive, though, that what you're doing actually works. What's the recidivism rate?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's all over, and different places report it differently, but about 66%, or about 2 out of 3 people who come out, eventually will go right back in within 5 years. And that's usually when people don't have that support system like we offer. But when we do that, it's really nothing that special or secretive. It's just us caring and wanting to give them to rehabilitate. And that brings it down to 22%. So bringing
amazing.
from 66
Wow.
down to 22%. And so that success rate is amazing. That's people who can, they have jobs, they're paying taxes, they're getting reacclimated with their family. And once again, with kids, most of them have children. We want them to get back into their family lives and help their kids as well.
And pay taxes.
Exactly.
I
Yes.
thought it was interesting what you said, that our current prison system or structure is set up not to rehabilitate, but it's more about retribution. And a lot of people in our society have that sort of, well, they need to be punished, a very retributive, if that's a word, attitude towards people. But once they get out of prison and they've done their time, I just think it's important to point out that, this was a ministry that was initially part of the Archdiocese of St. Louis,
Yes.
right? So there's a religious aspect to this as well.
Yeah, so we can talk about financially, it doesn't make any sense to have the system the way we have it. We need to spend a little bit more time and money on giving support systems so they can be successful. So we're not spending $25,000 to $30,000 a year incarcerating someone just on the low end. But then also, the results can change as well, but morally, right? I mean, we are a faith-based, a spiritual organization. We believe in that metaphysical idea. And we want to treat everyone with human dignity. That's our big thing, to serve without judgment. It's really tough to do, but we believe that no matter what someone has done, they have human dignity, and we try to treat them with that human dignity.
You mentioned money a second ago. I know you need some.
Yeah.
And you had an event recently, and I think you may have one coming up. What's going on?
We had a very successful event last week, raised some good money, and recognized some great people in the community. We got to recognize Bob Fox, Dr. Carrie Pettis Davis. We recognized Senator Jamila Nasheed for what she has done for our organization, and Guy Slay. And then we have events always coming up. You can check out our website. We're always trying to make that human connection between our clients and the community. So once again, we have one on June 6th. If you want to check it out on our website, we're going to have everyone come to the ball game and have a nice event to talk a little bit about more.
You mentioned, you mentioned the politicians and stuff. Does everyone have an open ear to your cause, or is every politician willing to work with you?
Well, and I think that's the problem that we see in the community, is there's a lot of fear, right? So there's misunderstanding that fear creates, and we want to break down those barriers. And in Jeff City, I was just there last week, there's actually a lot of across the aisle idea, like everyone can get together, whether you're the most staunch Republican on the right with conservative or on the left, you agree that we need to change criminal justice. We need to make sure that these people are successful. No one wants them to fail. So it's something that we can all get together on, and we have some small movements there, and we need the community to help us get there.
Well, if people can't find it in their hearts to have maybe sympathy for people in this position, they should just think of it financially, that it's actually saving everybody money and time in the long run to help these people be successful. All right, well, if people want to learn more about the criminal justice ministry, whether they are people who need help or they want to donate, we have information that should be popping up any moment now on how to find. There it is, cjm@stlouis.org. Also on Twitter and Facebook, the Criminal Justice Ministry. Dr. Anthony D'Agostino, thanks for joining us and telling us more about what you do.
Thanks for having me.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
All right, well, we need to take a little break, and we'll be right back to tell you a little bit more about seniors and food. So stay right here. Welcome back. Well, if you are an older adult, there is a lot going on in the month of May that you'll want to know about. And joining me now with all of the details, Anneliese Stoever and Jamie Saunders with the St. Louis Area Agency on Aging. Thanks for joining me, ladies.
Thanks for having us.
All right, I had to write this down so I didn't forget because I'm getting more forgetful, but May is Older Americans Month. I wanted to start out first by asking, because this question comes up, like what qualifies really as a senior citizen these days? Because it used to be, 55 or 65, but now, you have 75-year-olds running marathons, and what would you define it as?
Yeah. So I think that at one point in time when I was growing up, when I thought of a senior citizen, you thought of someone who was staying at home, had the shawl, kind of sedentary lifestyle. That's no longer the life of a lot of older adults. So people 60 years of age and better, I mean, when you think of Steve Harvey or you think of Tina Turner, these are people that are out, that are active, that are engaged in the community, that are volunteering, that are sometimes attending health classes that we have. So the idea of what an older adult is and that concept of what an older adult is has changed a lot.
So that probably changes as well some of the things that you see and the maybe problems that people are coming to you for. Talk a little bit, Jamie, about some of the services that you do provide.
Well, the services we provide through our agency would be our home delivered meal program for those who are homebound and unable to get out. And for those that can get out, we have senior centers throughout the city of St. Louis where they can engage socially with other seniors and do those health exercise that keeps them active in the community.
Mm-hmm. So if you are 60 years of age and older living in the city of St. Louis, we really want you to give us a call and learn about what services you could be receiving and also what activities you could be involved in. So if you're a baby boomer, you might want to take one of our computer classes, or you might want to do a Tai Chi class. We also have cooking classes. So there's a lot to offer. In addition to the senior centers, we also provide legal resources. We do benefits counseling, transportation, case management. So whether you are 50 just wondering what's down the line or whether you're 90, there's a service that we offer.
I think the latest statistic I saw was something like 12% of city residents are 65 or older. And as you mentioned with baby boomers, reaching that retirement age, that's just going to continue to grow. So the need for your services will continue to grow as well. One of the things I wanted to bring up is Medicare, which people certainly should know about, but there are some changes coming as well, right, Jamie?
Yes, in May, everyone will receive their new Medicare card. This card, the difference between the old card and the new card, the Social Security numbers will no longer be on the new card.
Which is perfect for safety.
Yes. This will prevent fraud, and they will have a number unique to them specifically. These cards will be issued throughout the year, so they won't all come in May at one time. They will come over a period of time throughout the year. Also, if you are receiving calls from people saying you need to pay for a card or wanting your card number, you might be a victim of identity theft. So guard your card. Please do not share your Social Security number or the number on your Medicare card with anyone.
Guard the card.
Guard the card. There is no fee for the card. And if you feel that your identity has been compromised, please give our office a call. We have certified senior Medicare Patrol volunteers that will guide you through the process of, fraud, if you're a victim of fraud, and help you understand what you need to do if your card has been compromised.
All right, it's still irritating to me when people are always, you just call for some random service. What's your social? They should not be asking you for that. All right, so that's definitely a good change. I'm wondering, it used to be when you were 65, you retired, then you stayed home until, enjoyed the rest of your years, but do you find more and more of your clients are still working in some capacity? Are people still trying to make ends meet out there?
Yeah, I mean, we hear from people that are in their 70s, 80s, still working, but they might be wondering how to pay that utility bill, or they might have questions about, Medicare. Do I need a Medicare Advantage plan? So when people have questions, they can always give us a call. We do get calls from people in their 70s, 80s also that want to continue living in their home, but maybe they're starting to have some minor home repair needs. So we get those calls as well.
In our office on a monthly basis, we do receive over 1,000 calls.
Wow.
From seniors throughout the city of St. Louis and those in the county as well that we transfer to our sister agency. And our operators are very patient and kind and listen to their concerns and try to give them appropriate referrals in their area.
Now, before we run out of time, I did want to mention one thing that I thought was great for those who have the time and want to get involved with something pretty cool. Talk about your silver-haired legislators.
Yes, so I love the silver-haired legislators. This is a group of older adults, people 60 years of age and older, across the state of Missouri. We have 150 advocates. So these are seniors that are talking to other community members that are concerned about senior needs. And it might be something like the potential cuts to the circuit breaker program, or it might be an issue related to nursing homes. So these are seniors that volunteer their time to advocate on behalf of other seniors. And we have an election coming up May 3rd and May 2nd, excuse me. So if people want to learn more about the silver-haired legislature and how they can volunteer, they should give us a call.
All right, well, Anneliese and Jamie, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us this important information from the St. Louis Area Agency on Aging. And just contact your office with any of those services. There's the information right there, slaaa.org, also on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, well, we have more news for you if you just turn your attention to Steve Potter and his Potter Reporters.
Thank you, Debbie. I love attention. I appreciate that. Well, there's a new way to get around St. Louis. Bike share companies like Lime Bike and OFO have already brought 1,500 of their signature green and yellow bikes to the city. Over the next 6 months, that number will climb to 5,000 as more bikes are added each month. Now, unlike traditional bike share systems with docking stations, these dockless bikes can be found on sidewalks and bike racks throughout the city and can be accessed through each company's app. You can learn more and download the apps at ofo.com and limebike.com. First Bank and the St. Louis Local Development Corporation are working together to give local businesses more opportunities to grow in the city. Together, they've created the St. Louis Small Business Neighborhood Loan Fund to spur economic growth in underserved areas of the city of St. Louis. New and established businesses located within 5 designated neighborhood revitalization strategy areas are eligible to apply for the loans. And for more information about the program, you can visit stlouis-mo.gov/SLDC. Despite the unseasonably cold weather, the first ever STL Day on the Runway was a great success. Hundreds came out for the 5K run around one of the tarmacs at St. Louis Lambert International Airport. The festivities also included a plane pole competition, line dancing, rock climbing, food trucks, and live music. The new annual event benefits the Special Olympics of Missouri, and you can find this year's race results and more by visiting somo.org/STL Day. April 4th marked 50 years since the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was shot and killed in Memphis, Tennessee. STL TV's Tim Lampley had the opportunity to sit down with 2 of Dr. King's closest confidants as they reflected on his final speech and the last hours of his life. Take a look at this.
Civil rights organizer and confidant to Dr. King and his wife Coretta, Zernona Clayton, recalls being given the sad news while at dinner.
The maid knew me very well and knew I had a relationship with the Kings, and so she came over and put a note on there. Did you hear about Dr. King? Well, I didn't know at the time what she meant, so I just kind of folded the note up and kept talking. Then she came back again because she thought that was odd behavior, and she said, I hate to interrupt, but did you hear that something happened to him? And I said, no. And I thought I'd better go to the phone and check it out. Because, see, I had driven him to the airport but 2 days before.
The 85-year-old Young doesn't understand why people so often focus on the shooting itself.
Why you want to look at that moment, though? Why don't you look at the moment where he decided to go to Memphis? We focused on the mountaintop speech. See, we focused on the night before his death, and that's what we have focused on.
Everyone else has always talked about the day he was killed.
Well, maybe not, because nobody wants to talk about the day he was killed, because there are all kinds of questions about who was responsible for it. And nobody wants to face those. So
Who was responsible?
it's not my business. My business was to keep the movement going. See? And I was a member of Congress, and they wanted me to serve on the committee to investigate the assassination. I said, no, we don't care who pulled the trigger. We know what killed Martin Luther King. What killed Martin Luther King was the reactionary selfishness and racism.
You can see more of Reflections 50 years after the death of Martin Luther King Jr. right here on STL TV and on your YouTube channel at St. Louis TV. And Debbie, I just turned 13 when that happened. And I'll never forget that day 50 years ago. I can't believe it's been so long.
Wow. Well, I would urge our viewers to take the trip to Memphis to the Civil Rights Museum. It is powerful. It is pretty amazing. Also, I wanted to point out your bike story, the bike sharing. I have seen those bikes everywhere, all over the city.
Right.
I know, I can't wait to ride one. It looks like fun. Anyway, since 1981, Operation Food Search has been dedicated to healing hunger.
Each month they feed over, and get this number, 200,000 people through a huge network of community partners in both Missouri and Illinois.
And they have a huge event coming up that will help them continue their mission. And here to tell us more about it is Martha Kemper. Thanks for being with us.
You're welcome.
All right, so Shop Out Hunger. We see the badge on your shirt. You have made it absolutely as simple as possible for us to help your organization. Tell us more.
Well, it's our 10th year to sponsor Shop Out Hunger. It's a region-wide one-day food drive. We're going to be in every grocery store across the Missouri and Illinois bi-state area. We've got Schnucks participating, Deerberg, Shop and Save, and Straub's, all allowing our pantries to collect donated food items outside of their store. So when you walk in the store, you're going to be handed a list of items that are preferred for the pantry. They're high demand items. Mostly canned proteins are very beneficial. Think about it. Summertime is a real high demand for these pantries. Kids are home from school. They're not getting the benefit of breakfast and lunch at school. So there's a big stress now on the family budget for the several months that kids are home during school. And this really helps offset that demand.
And 140 stores, you say?
Yeah.
So I'm going to encourage all my friends that shop at the Godfrey Schnucks
Good.
to participate,
Good.
because I will. So Shop Out Hunger, will that stomp out hunger?
Hopefully. That's our goal. I keep telling my boss, I think we should put ourselves out of business. That would be a success if we could stop, hunger in the St. Louis area. It's an ongoing chronic problem. It's just not getting better. Operation Food Search, though, does a lot of things besides just emergency food distribution. In addition, there's nutrition education to teach people how to cook on a budget, how to utilize some of these pantry items and stretch the meals in the household, in addition to the child nutrition efforts that we do. So it's a all-encompassing program. We're not the only business in town, but it's a big task, that's for sure.
Well, and that is really genius that you're able to do cooking classes and nutrition classes, because unfortunately, a lot of the affordable foods are the ones that are not so healthy for you, and we've become a society that's used to buying processed foods and things that are already made for us, which are more expensive and not as healthy.
Well, and that's just it, trying to find something that's healthy but you can prepare in a reasonable amount of time. No one's got all that time, and maybe not even the skill set to do it. But I tell you what, our Cooking Matters team just breaks it down to the lowest common denominator. Even I can cook after taking one of their classes. They really do a great job. And it's not just putting the meal together, but finding what are your family's preferences. Yes, we should eat more vegetables, but maybe not everyone in the house likes every vegetable. So teaching those skills to tailor a recipe to your family on a budget is one of the greatest things they can impart. So
You cover a large region, geographically.
Yeah.
So, what are the numbers? How many people are you helping on an annual basis?
Well, as you pointed out, 200,000 meals per month are served, from our pantries and our supporters. We have over 300 community partners. This isn't just us. In over 30 counties in Missouri and Illinois.
So we used to have this perception of people who would use a food pantry or a food service like Operation Food Search as being, quote unquote, poor people. I've heard so many stories about, with the job situation and jobs paying minimum wage of many families who are working very hard, who are unable to make ends meet.
Yeah, and really food insecurity, truly the definition is people that really don't know where their next meal is coming from. So imagine that. This isn't just, oh, gee, I missed lunch, I'm a little hungry. This is days upon end that maybe you haven't had a fully nutritious meal, not knowing where you're going to get your next meal, and you're right, it's only increasing. So participation in Shop Out Hunger is even more important because of that increased need.
How do people take advantage of your services? I mean, do they come to you, or how do you find these people? I would think some people might be hesitant to say, yeah, I need help.
Well, and that's exactly it. There is a hesitancy. It's a dignity thing. We have a hunger hotline that people can dial into to find a pantry near them, find out their hours of operation. That's probably the easiest way to get service. And go to our website. We have a lot of ways people that can help, people that need services. It's all outlined there on the website.
Now, when you mentioned the cooking classes, do those take place at your facility, or how do people get involved, and can anyone do those? Because I'm thinking I could probably use a class myself.
Well, most of those classes take place out into the community, which is great. Again, transportation isn't an issue. We're going to bring it to you. Again, for a complete list of where those locations are, I would say contact Operation Food Search to find one near you. It's a very busy crew. We have a team of nutritionists and dietitians that orchestrate that within the community, and they're in community centers, in churches, anywhere that they can gather and talk about food and nutrition.
Well, Debbie, you might need to take a class, but I could teach a cooking class.
Really?
Because
we'll sign you up.
I'm a little confident about that.
Well, I love the Shop Out for Hunger concept because I often have the best of intentions, and I'll gather things that I want to give to a food drive, and then I drive around with them in my car for 2 weeks because I can't remember when or where I was supposed to drop them off.
Well, we will make it easy for you. We'll remind you when you walk in the store, and we will take your items when you walk out of the store.
And what is the day?
It is Saturday, May 19th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and appreciate monetary donations as well as food donations.
And you're always looking for volunteers too, aren't you?
Absolutely. If people would like to help out the day of the event, again, contact Operation Food Search. We'd be happy to put you to work.
All right, and thanks to all of the area grocery stores that are participating and helping to make that super easy. There's the information on your screen for operationfoodsearch.org. Saturday, May 19th. Plan on making that your shopping day. So shop for the family and for Operation.
I'll buy extra stuff that day, right?
Absolutely.
Great.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you collect literally tons of food and help keep feeding our community.
Thank you.
All right, that is Martha Kemper joining us, and we hope that you enjoyed this episode of St. Louis Presents.
We want to thank all of our guests today and you at home for watching.
We'll see you next time right here on STL TV.
Bye-bye.
All right.